People under 65 years old can develop Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. People in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. What would happen if a community rallied and created something so special that people who have Alzheimer's disease, who might be a little reluctant to get out into public, can do so and feel safe and protected? We are telling you that story today, and we're really telling you the impact on what that made. It's wonderful. Stay tuned. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Experts Dig In with Doggies for Dementia. I am Carmen DeValis. I am the founder of Doggies for Dementia, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And while we're based in Texas, we also travel. And one great way for us to travel and to learn more about living with dementia is through these Zoom programs, which is our program, Experts Dig In with Doggies for Dementia. And I also have Sparky here, at least for a little while. Sparky is our Chief Canine Officer. He's a bit camera shy, which is funny because the mission of our organization is, let me just put him down, is to raise awareness, to help teach the world about dementia so that we can create a more kind and loving world. And one of the ways we do that is this program. And we also, a big part of what we do is photograph families impacted by dementia with their family dogs, because the world is just a better place with dogs. So number one, and we create these really beautiful experiences for families, and pretty soon they forget I'm there taking pictures. And then, of course, dogs are more popular on social media, so people will actually stop and read a story when there's a dog and a person there, and that's how we were teaching about dementia, because they stop and read it. So welcome to our program, and today I'm going to let you talk about this, Ruth, because you're an amazing person. You've been a guest on our program before. Thank you so much. And Ruth is a fellow nurse, although neither of us are actually practicing as a nurse, right? But that doesn't mean we don't have decades of experience behind us. So welcome, Ruth, and then we're gonna introduce Audrey and Willie as well.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ruth McCabe, and my job is to make Fife dementia friendly. Fife is an area in Scotland, and basically what I do is knock on the doors of businesses, organisations and individuals and encourage them to become a dementia friend. And we do a bit of training with people, and if they've got physical premises, we give them advice on things like signage and wayfinding. And I support a couple of peer support groups in the kingdom. One is called Stand, and we have Willie and Audrey from Stand. And I've got another new group just started in another part of Fife called Kinghorn. But a beautiful area to work in, absolutely lovely. We're blessed by beautiful surroundings and some great people.
Thank you. And before we go on, I just want to say I Googled the Kingdom of Fife, and we cannot wait to get there to both meet you all and to see your beautiful area too. Audrey, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Hi, Audrey.
Hi.
So you are part of the, what was it, the Stand program, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Audrey. I've got early onset dementia, got diagnosed when I was 54. I stay in a wee place called Methil in Fife with my wee dog called Bouncer, and I'm a member of Stand.
A member of Stand. Okay, yeah. Thank you. We're going to go back to talk about Stand a little bit. Once we hear from Willie. Welcome, Willie.
Hi, so I'm Willie. My name's Willie Gilder. I live, in fact, in Edinburgh, which is the other side of the Forth to Fife, but I've been adopted as a member of Stand, and I have early stage Alzheimer's disease. It's a form of Alzheimer's which affects my eyesight rather than my memory. But obviously, discovering I have this disease has been quite a shock to my system this year. I was diagnosed in April, which was in the middle of lockdown, which was very peculiar.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's ever a good time for a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, but during a pandemic and a lockdown, just adds-
Scary stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, welcome to the program. We'll come back and chat about that too. I want to hear first, Ruth, we've talked about STAND. Let's tell our audience what is STAND? What do you do?
The STAND stands for Striving Towards a New Day. And the group was formed because Jerry, a person who was living with younger onset dementia in Fife, wanted to meet up with his peers. So he asked his support nurse to create a group. And that's where we've managed to bring people like Audrey and a bunch of other people in the kingdom who are all living with younger onset dementia. Jerry kind of thought, he tried some of the groups for older people, but he really felt he wanted to speak to people more of his own age, and also people who were at a much earlier stage of dementia who could still do things. So the group meet quite regularly. We have a meeting once a week on a Monday in a community shed in a wee village called Kennoway. And we just today we had some exercise and then we just had a bit of a blather. We've managed to get a musician to come and work with us, a guy called Gus. So he's coming to work with us up until Christmas. And then we have another group that's a kind of offshoot of STAND meeting in the Kinghorn in the community centre. So that formed because some members of STAND ran a course for people in the early stages of dementia. And after the course, they wanted to have their own group meeting. So they've now been meeting on a Friday morning. But Audrey goes to some other things. There's a couple of other places she goes to. So STAND sort of have their own meetings, but they also get involved with other projects. And we meet the last Friday of the month. And we're working with a writer at the moment in that group. And that's proving to be really quite powerful. But the whole concept, Carmen, is basically quite simple. Bringing people with dementia together with their family and friends and just really getting that peer support. And we add on a bit of activity to make it a bit more meaningful, but quite simple and straightforward.
Yeah, I think the best things are simple. I don't know. I just like, we do it, we get it. It's a great thing. And well, I love the premise too, that so not a lot of, in fact, people who aren't really familiar with Alzheimer's don't understand there's a long course and there's different stages. And in the earlier set, and certainly don't expect younger people, like younger onset, like for you guys, that you're younger when you're diagnosed, and they're expecting most people are older. And it's a short course, which surprised me because dementia has been part of my world for decades. And I thought, oh, well, we have a long way to go. So programs like yours for the group support and for education and to continue to learn new things and do things. Yeah. And I know, Audrey, you had a dog up earlier, Bouncer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in bed now.
He's in bed now. That's okay. He's very cute. Maybe can you tell me, is having a dog been helpful for you?
Yeah, I would say if I didn't have Bouncer, then I wouldn't have a reason to get up in the morning. Because I've got Bouncer, he gets me up in the morning. I've got to walk him, got to feed him, got to look after him, and he gets me out and I meet people because everybody stops and wants to clap him. And yeah, I'd be really lost if I didn't have him.
Yeah. So you said he gives you something to wake up for. He needs you to take care of him. Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
Audrey, tell Carmen what STAND means to yourself. What's being part of STAND like for you?
Yes.
STAND has been a lifeline to me because I live on my own. I lost my job and I lost all my friends because none of my friends wanted to be friends with me because I got diagnosed with dementia. So I didn't just lost my job and my friends, I just lost everything. So becoming a member of STAND is my lifeline. So on a Monday, I jump out my bed because I think I'm going to meet up with like Willie and Jerry and Irene and all them and Ruth. And I just think it's fantastic. And
Mhm.
I've done loads of things I would never have done, like grow vegetables, paint sheds, weeding gardens, just doing a bit of everything. Doing a wee bit of writing with the writer and a wee bit of music with the singing guy, and yeah, my life's just totally different now.
Oh, that's just so wonderful. So that just got it. I mean, that's why you do what you do, right, Ruth? That's why y'all are your
Yeah.
group. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Willie, you were, and I so appreciate what you have to say, Audrey,
Yeah.
because I know within all of what you said, there's just so much feeling attached inside of when your friends are no longer your friends, and your career, and just as you said, everything changed. Everything changed. Yeah. And I bet you had no idea that there were some good things there too.
Yeah,
Extend
it's
because
I would say
yeah.
it's changed for the better. Yeah, so I didn't look at like being an illness. I look like it being a blessing, because without having dementia, then I wouldn't have met other wonderful people that's come into my life.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. So
Yeah. So it's made it's for the better for you.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. That's profound.
yeah.
That's profound. Willie, how about you?
Yeah, well, we had a stand meeting this afternoon, and Ruth and some of the other folk were being very energetic and doing keep fit. Well, I'm got a health issue, which means I can't do that at the moment, and I don't know what Audrey's excuse was, but several of us just sat around and drank tea and ate biscuits. And I think it's very easy. You could look at that and think not a lot is happening, but actually, it means an extraordinary amount, because we are people who share a lot together. We share having been diagnosed. We share facing an uncertain future. We share issues like I'm no longer allowed to drive, and that's shared with other people in the group. And I would say it's a group that saved my life, kind of literally and metaphorically. I was in a very bad place before I was diagnosed and before I found Stand. And as I say, I was diagnosed in the middle of lockdown when nothing was open. And in fact, the particular part of Scotland that I live in, there are still services that haven't reopened. They are reopening in November. Meanwhile, Stand's been kind of operating for 6 months. And just being together with other people who know what it's like, without having to kind of delve into that in a great big kind of introspective, examining our souls kind of way, can mean a huge amount, because you just say, I'm all a bit muddled today, or I mean, I'll give you a genuine example. Just recently, I've muddled up my medication, because I get my medication in a kind of cassette pack with plastic bubbles on. And a couple of months ago, I had this problem, and I quite casually happened to say in the car as we were going across to the Kennaway shed, I confused my evenings and my mornings. And Audrey said, I did exactly the same thing. And it turns out that we have the same sort of pack that we're given from the pharmacy. And, that's the kind of thing which, if you do it by yourself, you can just easily feel you're such an idiot, you're such a fool. You take all the world's troubles on your own shoulders. But to discover that other people have the same issues, just, trouble shared is a trouble halved, I suppose. So yeah, it means the world to me.
And I thank you for what you've said. That's really touched me. I mean, the power of connection, and it literally saved your life, and metaphorically changed your life, saved your life. Yeah, I talk to a lot of people, and I'm out and about all the time, but hardly ever are there really those vulnerable conversations that you could just, where you're just free to talk about what's happening and it's safe, that you feel safe doing that. And the power in that for a person to like have a home where it's meaning your group is your home, that when you say something, there's probably either A, it's accepted, B, you're gonna get some support or help, and C, someone else is doing the very same thing.
Yeah, and I think those connections kind of continue, not just during the time we're together. So there's a friend of ours who's not able to be with us tonight because he's not very well. Now he and I share that we both have problems with our hearts at the moment, and we were messaging each other today, and I was going, feeling really tired because I take kind of 5 steps and then I'm having to sit down, and he was saying much the same thing. And it's friendship, it's support, but it means a huge amount, and it doesn't cost anybody anything other than the cost of lots of cups of tea and a few biscuits, probably too many biscuits actually, and cake.
Yeah. Is it oh, of course, Ruth. I like that. You have a
Audrey,
sign.
Audrey, tell us about the conversation you had with Willie this afternoon about the memory box. Tell us that wee story.
Yeah, I've got a memory box that I started at one of the art classes, and I've not been able to finish it. So I just brought up conversation. So Willie asked me to bring it in the next time we're going, and he's going to draw like robins on it and butterflies, and I'm going to get it all decorated, and I'm going to be buying gifts over the next year for all my grandkids and my great grandkids and my kids, and I'm going to seal the box. And when I'm no longer here, they will have something in it like a bit treasure. Yeah, so with the help of Willie, I'm going to get that finished.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're decorating your box.
Yeah.
It's for your family. Those.
I think there's a lot of sharing of skill that happens in the group, actually, that sometimes in a very sort of quiet way, that somebody goes, if you don't know how your computer works, I'll come round and help you fix it.
Yeah.
And sometimes in a much more kind of structured sort of way. And that's what happens when you get a group of people who've got lots of things in common, who would otherwise never have met. But we've all joined the same train. It's not a train we terribly want to be on, and we've joined it at different times and different stations. But the one thing we have in common is we're all on that journey.
We've just become one big blended family. We're the blended bunch.
Yeah.
With Ruth as our auntie.
Yeah.
Auntie
Or our
Ruth.
fairy godmother.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely that. The fairy godmother.
Yeah.
It feels to me a bit like the Waltons, Carmen, it's a bit like the old Walton story where there's so many people in the family, really.
Yeah. Well, how many are typically or how many people are in the group? I know every meeting it might vary, but how many people do you have in the group?
I mean, there's probably about 10 core couples. We were quite depleted at the shed today. We just had Willie and Audrey and Yvonne and Linda and David. That was all we had today, wasn't it?
And Ed.
Yeah. And Ed came along.
But we still had a good time though.
We did. It was quite interesting, actually. We're always asked to comment on all sorts of stuff, Carmen. So today, the Scottish Government had asked us a question that if people were going on holiday in Scotland, how would they find a dementia-friendly community? So we had this conversation about how people might find that out, and would people use apps or Google. But Audrey had the great idea that actually travel agents should probably know. And then Willie talked about a place where all of that information was in one space. So I can feed that back to the Scottish Government. So we're asked questions like that, quite a lot, different sort of themes and subjects. But I think there's a lot of skill sharing. I mean, I don't think, Audrey, you would have set up your Alexa because you struggled with your laptop, didn't you? And you brought it to the shed and Jerry and Alan fixed it up for you.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Alexa.
yeah. Oh, I love my Alexa. I fight with her every day, but like
Yeah. Yeah. So your group is just so much more than what most of us think about when we think about support group or a place just to kind of sit and talk. It's well beyond that because you are an extended family. You are an important part of each other's lives. And do you have a hard time, and either of you can answer, a hard time describing what you're experiencing or any parts of your dementia journey to people who do not have dementia or Alzheimer's?
I didn't really understand that question.
Do you have a hard time talking about it, what you're experiencing, if you're talking to someone who doesn't have Alzheimer's?
I would say I'm more open now, because if you'd asked me like 18 months ago, I was sort of in denial, but by the help of the group and being able to find my voice in that, I'm not frightened to tell people I've got early onset dementia, and then we could sit and chat about it, and yeah, I didn't feel like different.
Yeah. So it's okay now to say.
Yeah. Audrey, tell Carmen about the conference in Dundee. Tell Carmen
Oh.
about the conference.
Because if you don't, I'm going to.
We went to a conference, and with the help of Willie and Jerry, especially Willie, I was able to go up and speak, something I would never have done. I thought the help of Willie and Jerry, especially Willie. But we done it as a team, eh, Willie? You stood up there beside me and you didn't leave.
We did, but
did.
when you spoke, I wasn't the only person who was in tears.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was just amazing experience because I've got the help of Ruth and Jerry and Willie, and then I went up, and it made me feel wonderful.
What did you talk about?
And yeah, how frightened I was to go and get it. I never went for my diagnosis. I walked out the room and left my family because I didn't want to know. But now I've come to terms with it, and I feel content, yeah, with the help of Willie and Ruth and Jerry and that. I just feel totally different about it now. Yeah.
And the whole point of that speech, Carmen, that Audrey made at the conference, along with a bunch of other people, is that information was given to the health minister and the Scottish government, because there's a review going on here of social care for adults, and they wanted a sort of testimony from people for what they wanted that to look like. So what Audrey said will actually frame, hopefully, that new structure, that new strategy. But Audrey's also been involved in the work that we did with SP Energy Networks. So Audrey and Jerry and Irene created a course that now is taken by 6,000 employees. And we wrote a course for employers that we've not been able to deliver yet because nobody signed up for it. So Willie and Audrey are both in that course. And we're supposed to do a workshop on working outside, but actually we had a date for it and the whole technology failed them. So we're rescheduled for November. So we've been involved in a lot of different things. Now, these are people who don't really generally know much about dementia. So people's experiences are framing, hopefully, a much more positive image of living with the condition. So there's quite a lot of that kind of thing goes on in the group, Carmen, which is really positive. And I think has helped Audrey to come to terms with her diagnosis and, as she says herself, be much more open about it.
Yeah, because that can't be an easy thing. And if you were not a public speaker before and you spoke in front of a group about something that is so close to your heart and that you're living with every day, that the strength that takes for most of us would run from that. I mean, really. And you know, and when I hear you talk about that, Audrey, and you being right there with her, Willie, I'm thinking about all the people who are standing behind you, so to speak, and those who will become diagnosed or who are going to experience it, and how you've paved the path.
If you could sum up the power of Stand and of peer support in one moment, it would be the moment that Audrey stood up and talked about her story, because she was in tears and I was in tears, and I suspect Ruth was in tears. You know, it was profoundly powerful. Now I am a person who has been used to public speaking. I used to work as a journalist. I used to be on the radio. I'll stand up and make a fool in front of myself, in front of anybody, you know, and I'm used to that. But even so, talking about your own health condition and your own thoughts and your own fears is pretty scary stuff.
Yes. There's one thing being vulnerable and coming and talking to a small group, and there's another standing on a stage and talking to a large group of people you don't know. That's very brave, Audrey. Very courageous. Yeah, but so important, because you said it, Willie, you know, and that you all are like, not only for yourselves and for those of you guys that are in Stand now, but for generations even to come, that it started there, you know.
Willie, tell Carmen about your decision to make your videos and things, because that to me feels really important.
So as I say, I used to work as a journalist, and I struggle to explain aspects of my disease to people, because yes, I have Alzheimer's disease, but it's a form of Alzheimer's disease which affects my parietal lobes, so my eyesight is affected, not necessarily my memory. And I took a fairly conscious decision, a very conscious decision, a couple of months ago, that I would use the skills that I've got, my journalistic skills, to tell the world about dementia, not just about me, although, you know, it's interesting telling my own stories, but about how it affects people I now know. And sometimes those are folk who now struggle to tell the world themselves because of the progress of the disease. So I've been making a series of YouTube videos. I've been making podcasts. I'll just use any opportunity I can, really. And I think dementia for too long has been a hidden disease. I think it's been a disease that I mean, I don't know how it is in the States, but in Britain, you know, 50 years ago, we didn't talk about cancer. Now we talk quite openly about cancer. But it used to be you talk about, you know, the C word. And I think dementia is a bit like that. It's hidden away and it's not thought about very much. And, you know, we're starting to learn about a few celebrities now with dementia, but not many. And I think it's time to try and change that and to shine a spotlight on us.
You're so right, Willie. I know in the very beginning when I was thinking about what's the big, you know, I thought about stigma, you know, the stigma, and part of why sometimes people are not speaking up or that they stand back, it's more quiet. And Ruth and I were around the same age. You know, there was a time in my career where if a woman had...
Well, you're both 25.
Yeah, 25. If a woman was diagnosed with breast cancer, let's say breast cancer, I'll use that as an example because that's the one I thought of when I was designing our program even, and thinking like, what's our mission going to be? It was quiet. You're right, the C word, they didn't mention cancer, and they struggled on their own. And with all of it, the fear, the disfigurement, and people just didn't, it was a big fear base not to talk about it. And then women started being very courageous and sharing their stories, much like you and Audrey are doing. And you're sharing your stories so that people can learn more. And it eventually evolved to where it is no longer, is like you said, it's no longer like it was where we didn't want to talk about it, the stigma associated with it. And I truly believe dementia can get there too. I hope it's in my lifetime, but that's certainly a big part of what we stand for, and that's why. And families I spoke to, they may have had a variety of different issues and things that were there, but the one big thread throughout was the loneliness and isolation that you both talked about. The loneliness and isolation, these people didn't quite understand, and it was the stigma and the stigma of anything to do with when there's mental clarity or developmental problems or functioning. There's the piece to be silent and a lot of shame, frankly. So yeah, so you're out there changing that too.
We're not ashamed.
No,
And
some are.
we have quite a lot of fun.
Yes.
I think that's actually
Yes.
very key. That there's a lot of laughter in our group.
Yeah.
We're not going to kind of hide in the corner and feel sorry for ourselves.
Mhm.
I mean, we're going to do that anyway. But we're gonna go out fighting.
Mhm. Yeah, because I think that's one of those preconceived notions that people may have too. It's all gloom and doom. And so we're going to get together and we're going to cry on each other's shoulders. But instead, when there is a gathering, it's about joy and being together and connecting. And I'm hearing this a lot too, gratitude, a lot of gratitude for one another and for the group. Yeah. Well, there's just so much more we can talk about it. I think I'm going to have y'all. I would love to have a guest blog. I heard you say, Willie, that you like to communicate. We have a blog at Doggies for Dementia where I'd love to share more of your stories, and same to you, Audrey. And I want to ask you each if there was one thing you wanted the world to know about dementia, what do you think that would be?
It's not all bad.
What's
You
that?
could- It's not all bad. You could get a lot of good things coming out of having a diagnosis of dementia.
Mhm.
You could sort of maybe even have a better life than you had before. Yeah.
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 I love that, Audrey. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, Willie.
I would say it's that if you think about dementia, don't automatically think of people slumped in armchairs watching televisions. We're people who can lead full and active lives with help sometimes.
Mhm.
But we concentrate on what we can do, not on what we can't do.
Mhm. Mhm. And with that being said, Willie, I think that is another super important thing that y'all are doing there with your speaking. Audrey, it's just the beginning, I bet you. So gear up for that. Speaking and making social change, impacting social change. Because in the beginning, I said it, I think the world could be a much more kind place and thriving place for everyone, including those who are impacted by dementia. I mean, I know that some of the myths are people do sit at home and watch TV and don't do anything else. And we're seeing more and more and highlighting that because that's just not the case. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Do you all have anything to add before we close? I think this has been wonderful. And it's just maybe I'm like
I want a dog.
the ideas are going in my head. So
I'm desperate to get. I had a dog for many years, and she sadly died. And I'd love to get another one. And trying to get hold of adult dogs in Britain at the moment is very hard indeed. Yes, I'm just longing. I have this dream of possessing a golden retriever. Sadly, everybody else in Britain seems to want to own a golden retriever as well.
Well, I know the right one will show up for you. Yeah. I mean, if you've already, you've had dogs, they're just such great company. And I mean, we're talking it's been almost 2 years now. There's still, we're in the pandemic and there's still lockdowns and things closed and the precautions, and it really breeds more isolation and more loneliness. And I don't know if that's why in UK there aren't as many dogs available. I'm not sure. Our Humane Society, our public, there seem to be quite a few, but and I was looking for a puppy for Sparky because we lost one of our dogs, and I thought he likes to play. So I hope you find your golden retriever.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'll just have to go and walk Audrey's dog in the meantime.
I think Bouncer would love that.
You definitely would.
Yeah, yes. Well, and Ruth, I can't thank you enough for coordinating this so that we could talk, because the topics and what you all have to say are just so profoundly important, and just need to be heard. And I love that we can help orchestrate that for you here in the United States. Obviously, we're heard all over the place, but we're mostly here. And I am very determined to get there. So you need a golden retriever by then, Willie, so we can photograph his.
Yeah, if anybody in the States has got one that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. It's weird, we photograph families with impacted by dementia. And in fact, I was just in Macon, Georgia, which is about 2-day drive for us, to photograph a woman. I think she's 56, and she was diagnosed at the age of 50. And has similar message, and she never thought about being a speaker. So I thought about you, Audrey, never thought about being a speaker. And she speaks now for our Alzheimer's Association, our national group, and is on boards of memberships and has a lot to add about what it's like living with dementia. She's able to talk about it like you guys, and it's invaluable. It's invaluable. So next time I see you, Audrey, you'll be like, I'm too busy. I've got to go speak.
No.
Got to be on my telly.
I'm going to make a trip. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice, Carmen.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's the beginning of our conversation. And thank you all for watching.
He's away.
Oh, we lost him.
Willie's gone.
Willie's gone.
Must be in a hurry. Must have another date.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Willie. Thank you, Audrey and Ruth. And thank you all for watching. Be sure and subscribe to our channel for Doggies for Dementia, and love sharing these stories. And I'm just so inspired. I'm so inspired and love it. So stay tuned. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Night. Thanks.
Don't hang up.
Night,
Don't
Audrey.
hang up.
Thanks.